The College Baseball Experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 100 times your money, 100 times your entry with the Underdog Fantasy Pick'em. Sign up today with promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by the Mega Memorial Merch Sale, 15% off everything at the SGPN merch store with the promo code SGPN May. All right, welcome back to a brand new episode of the College Baseball Experience. It is 5 a.m. Wednesday, May 22nd. We're talking college baseball conference tournament picks. Odds didn't come out till like 2:30 a.m. I'm doing my job. However, I'm not fully used to staying up till 5 a.m. anymore. I still stay up to like 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, but I am dragging ass right now. And also a little discouraging with the amount of TBAs that were on today's slate. So that's never as fun either. Real quick, let's talk about some of the games that happened on Tuesday. Personally, my bets that I gave out on this show, 5-3 overall, made just under a unit total. I'm pulling up the picks page that we had for the day, and I'll kind of run through the finals that we had and anything notable. Wichita State UAB, I had the under in this one that I gave out on the show last night. I said, whatever it comes out, if it's reasonable, take it under. It was under 12.5. That one really kind of no doubt there. Wichita wins that one 8-2. That was a little bit of surprising how they pulled away from the Blazers. Kansas wins the Sunflower State Showdown 2-1. That was a very nice battle all the way through, tight. They scored that second run in the ninth inning there. Austin P laid an egg. They got mercied by Florida Gulf Coast 13-3. LSU wins 9-1 against Georgia, knocking out my Bulldogs that I took I had a 43-1 future on them to win the SEC tournament. Don't ask me how I was even able to get that number, but rip the dream. Much like some of my other dark horses in some of these conference tournaments. Last year, I didn't have a great year picking dark horses either. So, I don't know. Conference tournaments really are just kind of dart throws. Louisville, I felt pretty confident in Evan Webster throwing well in this game against Miami. He only lasted one inning, gave up 3 runs. Miami wins this game by 3 runs, 8-5. Notable in Charlotte for the ACC tournament, the ball is flying, wind blowing in, but that has not mattered in the 3 games. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. The one that pissed me off the most today, because I handicapped this game to a T, Stanford, Arizona State. Arizona State's best pitcher of the season throwing on the mound to start the game, Connor Markle, doesn't have his greatest game. And David Esker, the head coach of Stanford, throws Christian Lim, the game 2 starter for most of their weekends this season. Then he follows Lim with Matt Scott, the game 1 starter for most weekends. He brings out Nick Dugan. He brings out their closer, throws the entire kitchen sink at Arizona State. Stanford scored 8 runs in the 4th inning, and they win this thing 8-7. It took them their 4 best arms to keep Arizona State from scoring 8 runs. I mean, like, I couldn't have handicapped that game any better. And nothing went our way in that one, with Markle not having his greatest appearance and Stanford like I said, throwing the kitchen sink at the Sun Devils to make sure that the Cardinal were able to win this game. We're going to talk about that. Stanford's next game here, which takes place on Wednesday against Oregon State. The next one was Rice. They had a 4-0 lead in the 8th inning against East Carolina. The Pirates scored 12 in the 8th inning to win 12-4. So that was the second leg of the parlay, but unfortunately did not come through, as the first leg, Arizona State, unfortunately lost. And the Sun Devils, by the way, had the game-tying run on third base, the game-winning run on first base with 2 outs in the 9th inning. And they had previously scored 3 times in the 9th already. TCU beats West Virginia 5-2. They opened that one up late. It was low scoring, tight most of the way. Chris Veach pitched his ass off against Alabama for South Carolina. The Gamecocks kind of slugged their way to a 10-5 victory over the Crimson Tide in Hoover. Impressive victory there for Kingston and the bunch. Kennesaw State wins 6-5 in DeLand at Stetson on the road. Impressive game there. The Mexicans, a.k.a. UT Rio Grande Valley, 8-5 victory over UT Arlington. That was a lock of ours. That one came through. Florida State was in a sweat fest against Georgia Tech. The Seminoles win that game 12-9. And they were using some of their better pitchers out of the bullpen, just kind of throwing midweek pens, is what Link Jarrett said there. Illinois Chicago wins 9-8 over Missouri State. Charlotte surprisingly knocked off UTSA 9-5. I didn't know what was up with that line, but there's a reason why I didn't bet it. But I said it was a disrespectful price on the Roadrunners, and what do you know? They dropped it. So I didn't have a reason not to bet it, but I was like, something smells here. That was the Courtney Love game of the day. Coastal Carolina scores 5 runs in the last 2 innings to knock off Georgia State. And that was a one and done elimination game in the Sun Belt tournament there. So that was, nice recuperation late in that game by the Chanticleers there. UCF, they had one player hit 3 home runs, and I'm blanking on his name, but UCF wins 6-5 in 11 innings against Cincinnati. Indiana played pretty well against Purdue. The Big Ten tournament was kind of rain delayed for the entire first half of the day. But the Hoosiers win the Hoosier State battle there in round 1 of the Big Ten tournament. USC comes back to beat Utah. They were fighting an early they were trailing early, I should say, and they were able to fight their way back and win this game. So USC has won 4 games in like 6 days against Utah. Pretty impressive there as well. I should have bet Vanderbilt. I was pretty confident that Florida was not going to win that game. Vanderbilt pushed all their chips in with Cunningham starting, and I totally disagreed. Kind of hindsight's 2020, but Pierce Coppola was never going to really be able to give you the bulk that you wanted innings-wise, because he's kind of struggled with his control ever since returning. He only went like 4 innings, 75 pitches, and he's still, they're still stretching him out in a game that you should have wanted to win to improve your at-large bid hopes. They didn't. Sully didn't really set his team up in the best way possible to do that. And Tim Corbin and Vanderbilt did. And I think Vanderbilt's live throughout this tournament because, as I suspected, they are playing pretty motivated for Asher Sullivan, the kid that passed away. They have his name on a sticker on their helmet, and Tim Corbin was emotional in the press conference after the game. Southern Illinois mercied Belmont 12-2. Tarleton State wins against Sac State 12-6. Unfortunately, my dark horse of the Virginia Tech Hokies wasn't able to get across either. They are now eliminated from ACC tournament championship contention. They lose 11-8 against Duke. This one was close, and Virginia Tech had a 5-0 lead early. And there were some nukes hit in this game, by the way, as well. But overall, they never really threatened to win in that back half of the game. Duke was kind of up 3 runs from the end of the 6th inning on. Jacksonville, never really kind of a threat to lose this game. That was a lock of ours. They beat Eastern Kentucky 6-2. Tulane mercied Florida Atlantic 14-2. That was a lock of ours. Old Dominion wins a low-scoring battle. They came back in this one to beat South Alabama 3-2. Texas blows the game. Basically, the bullpen blew the game against Texas Tech 6-4. They lose there. Nebraska got their doors blown off by Ohio State 15-2. I did not see that one coming. Cal mercied Washington 12-0. That was another lock of ours. And then the final game of the day in Hoover, the Egg Bowl, the Governor's Cup. Mississippi State walks it off against Ole Miss. Just absolute scenes, and I called it on Twitter. I was pretty happy about that. I just wanted a big moment for the day because the SEC tournament, to be honest, the first 3 games weren't really close, and that Ole Miss Mississippi State game was a huge pitcher's duel. And Mississippi State's center fielder, who was hurt for most of the year, comes back, plays his first game in a while. The one run that Ole Miss had was a home run off of his glove and over the fence. He comes back in the 9th inning and blasts a 2-run bomb. Absolute no doubter. As soon as it went off the bat, and he screams, "Get the fuck out of here, bitch!" Like at the pitcher, but also kind of after he hit the ball. Oh, it was incredible. Absolute scenes in Hoover. And before we get to the games for the Wednesday slate here, again, a lot of TBAs, so I didn't really mind talking about some of the games that was on Tuesday. I don't do that a ton, but it's going to be a shorter show today. It's the biggest week in racing. The Indy 500, the Monaco Grand Prix, and the Coke 600. Rod and Cody from the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and F1 Gambling Podcast have you covered. Make sure to join their Kyle Larson diecast car giveaway that's free to enter. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/race to register and make sure to subscribe to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and F1 Gambling Podcast. Plus, we're running a mega Memorial Day merch sale, 15% off everything in the merch store. Promo code SGPN May. Our TCE hat lines and the Dundeeism t-shirt lines are outstanding over there. So use promo code SGPN May to get 15% off till the end of this month. Underdog Fantasy is wanting to make NBA playoffs a lot more interesting for you guys. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. Make entries of all basketball or mix and match across some of your favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. Underdog is available in 30-plus states, including California, Texas, and even Canada. And they also just launched their Champions, which is their player versus player format in Florida, and they're now legal for drafting in Michigan. So sign up today with our promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. All right, let's dive into some of those games. At the top of the slate, 9 a.m. in the Missouri Valley Conference tournament, Illinois State against Evansville. We do have pitchers for this matchup that are probable. Going through a lot of the team sites, the game notes, the game write-ups. Today I didn't really do Twitter because it was late and I was kind of just wanting to get through it. So starting for the Redbirds, Cameron Maybe. He's a senior right-hander, 6-3, 5.07 ERA, 59 strikeouts, 17 walks, and 76.1 innings with a 4.03 SIERA. He has a 2.89 ERA over the last month, so he's in really, really good shape recently. And against Evansville in his last time out, he gave up 6 hits, 5 earned runs, and 4 innings. So wasn't an amazing appearance against the Purple Aces earlier in the year. And Evansville starting a freshman lefty who's been very good this year. That's Kenton Deverman, 7-1 with a 3.53 ERA, 72 strikeouts, 20 walks, and 89.1 innings. 374 Sierra, 186 ERA in his last 4 starts, and he went 7 shutty against Illinois State in his first appearance. Now, I'd be lying to you guys if I said that I knew much about either one of these teams if I had watched any of their games earlier this season. This is, again, kind of just like the UT Rio Grande Valley handicap from yesterday. It is solely based on paper. I think Evansville is a nice play. At minus 166, I'm personally not going to put anything on it, but I wouldn't knock you if you wanted to get some early action in the morning on the Purple Aces here at that bettable price. Next game is Florida International and Western Kentucky. The Panthers are plus 110. The Hilltoppers are minus 140. To be announced for both teams here, starting pitcher wise. So we're going to kind of zoom ahead in this one. I'm going to pick Western Kentucky to win that game. They've been the most consistent team in the Conference USA this season. So next up is in the losers bracket of the top portion of the Big 12 tournament, Kansas State and West Virginia. The Wildcats are plus 105. The Mountaineers are minus 135. So I don't know what West Virginia is doing. They are projected to start Hamilton Oliver. So Hamilton Oliver. He's a grad right-hander. However, in a must-win game, I like if you lose this game, you're going to be on the bubble for the NCAA tournament. Right now, they're in, and if they lose, their RPI could be in that bubble range. I don't think you really want to tempt fate. So yeah, Hamilton Oliver, who hasn't really been a consistent starting pitcher for most of the year. He's a grad right-hander, 1-1 on the year, 3.72 ERA, 36 strikeouts, 20 walks, and 36.1 innings with a 4.16 Sierra. He has a 5 ERA over the last month, so hasn't really been in good recent form. And Kansas State's going to start their most experienced starting pitcher, Owen Barema, the grad left-hander, is 5-3 with a 5.01 ERA, 89 strikeouts, 37 walks, and 79 innings with a 3.55 Sierra. And he's got a 3.73 ERA in his last 3 starts. So he is really kind of finding his form, whereas Oliver, not normally a starting pitcher, has not been as great recently. So I'm actually on Kansas State with the plus money here in this game. And we'll move on to another 10 a.m. beginning in the Sun Belt tournament. App State plus 145 at against Troy, not at Troy, against Troy. This is in Montgomery, Alabama. The Trojans are minus 190 here. App State is projected to start Dante Chirico, senior right-hander, 4-1 ERA or 4-1 record on the year, 5.83 ERA, 52 strikeouts, 31 walks, and 63.1 innings with a 4.56 Sierra. He has a 2.50 ERA in his last 3 starts, so he's in good form. However, the last time that he played Troy, or pitched against Troy, I should say, it was not great. 5 innings, 4 earned runs on 8 hits. Troy's going to start Luke Lyon, a junior right-hander here. He's 7-3 with a 3.95 ERA, 53 strikeouts, 21 walks, and 70.2 innings with a 4.02 Sierra. And his last 5 starts, he's not been good. 7.04 ERA. But go back a little bit further in the year when he played App State earlier this season. He went 8 innings, only gave up 6 hits with only 2 earned runs against him. So I like Troy, but this price seems a little too rich for my blood. App State offensively is going to be able to play within Troy's range here. This might be like a run line, more comfortable bet if you want to play it. But on the money line, I think plus 145 is going to be the pick here for me with App State roll nears. Next up here in the SEC tournament, the first game of the day there in Hoover, LSU at Kentucky. The Tigers are minus 130. The Wildcats are plus 100. TBAs on both teams here. surprised we couldn't even get a listed pitcher from Kentucky, as they are playing only their first game of the week here in Hoover. But TBA for Kentucky, TBA for LSU, although the rumor is that Luke Holman would go for LSU. If that's the case, I think I do like the Tigers, as they are playing pretty well as of late. I think they're 15-5 in the last 20 games. That's what the broadcast was saying today. So yeah, they have kind of found a groove on both sides of the ball. Both pitching wise, they've found a couple of go-to guys out of their pen that they like, in Griffin Herring and Christian Little. And with the lineup, they were smacking around some singles. They weren't hitting a bunch of long balls, especially in the morning when the ball's not going to fly as well as it will do in the middle of the day down there in Hoover. They smacked around like 10 singles or something like that. Wes Johnson was pretty pissed about that in the post-game presser. So yeah, I like LSU there at -130. Next game, 11 a.m., Penn State +154 against Illinois -200. This is a rescheduled game from Tuesday. However, we do have a projected pitcher for Illinois now. So starting first for Penn State is Travis Lunsman. He's a senior right-hander, 6-2 on the year, 4.96 ERA, 61 strikeouts. He does have a control issue with 59 walks in 69 innings with a 5.26 SIERA there. And Illinois is going to start Jack Crowder, senior right-hander, 7-1 on the year, 5.24 ERA, 70 strikeouts, 35 walks in 77.1 innings with a 4.29 SIERA, 6.65 ERA in his last 3 starts. And they were all against Big Ten tournament competition. So all 3 of his most recent starts have been a good event. It's late. I'm stumbling over my words. All 3 of his most recent starts have been against quality competition that are all in this Big Ten tournament, and he's quite struggled. I like an over for this one, Penn State, Illinois, with both these guys on the mound. Penn State and Illinois, 2 of the top offenses in the Big Ten. So that would be my most comfortable play in this one. I will say that Illinois gets to Lunsman a little bit more than Penn State would get to Crowder. I also think that Illinois' bullpen's a little bit more sustainable than Penn State's. So that's going to be the pick for me. As Penn State has a 6.60 weekend team ERA, Illinois 6.21. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Fighting Illini in this one. And the last one here before we'll jump into another ad. This is a huge reason why I'm doing this show today. My favorite conference tournament trend is back, and hopefully better than ever. I read off the stat. However, I kind of miscalculated some of the year's records. So Georgia Tech enters this game 0-1 against Virginia, who is playing their first game of the ACC tournament. Georgia Tech is virtually eliminated. They have no shot of winning the ACC tournament championship, because even if they beat Virginia and Virginia finishes 1-1 in this pool, Virginia would have the tiebreaker because they're the higher seed in this pool. So for Georgia Tech, it's kind of like or for any of these 0-1 seeds, I should say, it's kind of like a motivational angle where you lost the first game. You're kind of like, why am I really going to show up to the second game? The storyline that a lot of people are going to build around this game in particular, Georgia Tech's kind of fighting on the NCAA tournament bubble, trying to get into the NCAA tournament. And they do technically have their top 2 pitchers available to them. They don't really have anybody else in the pen after their dogfight that they were in with Florida State on Tuesday. However, they do have Aiden Vinatieri and Cam Jones available to use in Wednesday's game. However, I still think I favor Virginia's offense compared to Georgia Tech's. Both of them pretty powerful. However, like every single year, you're going to have this, this team fighting for seeding, this team fighting to get off the bubble and into the NCAA tournament. And this trend is still strong. So like I said, when you Fade 0-1 ACC tournament teams against teams that are 1-0 or 0-0 in the ACC tournament. The teams that are 1-0 or 0-0 are 16-4 against the teams that are 0-1 in the ACC tournament. So no matter what kind of narrative you want to build that's going to give you cold feet in this, there's only been one losing year with this trend. It was in 2021 in the ACC tournament where it went 1-2. In 2023, it went 4-0. In 2022, it went 3-0. Those were the 2 years that I've done this podcast. So it has been very, very profitable for me when I've been giving out these bets. 2019, 2-1, 2018, 3-1, 2017, 3-0. So yeah, 16-4 total. And we're going to get 2 opportunities today. So I would encourage you guys, if you like to parlay picks, try parlaying Virginia and the next team that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But Virginia at minus 140 is going to be one of my favorite bets tomorrow, just because of how strong that trend is, for sure. So I'm grabbing my pencil. Like I said, yesterday's show, I'm kind of finishing off the handicaps as I reread these all to you guys during the show. Before we move on with the rest of the show, I need to tell you about Rhythm, our newest sponsor of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, because if you're betting on NBA player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game, making it easy to go through and to find the best props to put your money on in seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning our algorithm to give you the best shot at winning. Rhythm, spelled RITHMM, pairs its predictions with player props, graphs to help feel even more confident in your picks, which you can make whenever, wherever you normally place your bets or DFS picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data, without you needing to endlessly scroll a sports book. Rhythm also allows you to create your own custom NBA models, so you can get AI-backed moneyline, spread, and total picks for every playoff game. Start a free 7-day trial and start winning your NBA player props with Rhythm, available wherever you get your apps. Okay, we're back here on the college baseball experience. Wow, I'm tired. Latest show so far this season. I'm getting back into the groove of things. Odds didn't come out till 2:30 a.m. So forgive me, but again, got all the pictures that we need to talk about some of the games here. Little Dirt 27 wins the award of first one to interact in the comments at 5:26 a.m. He says, 4 a.m. here in Bama, headed to work. Let's fucking go. Noah Moneymaker Bieniek. Thank you for showing up, Little Dirt. I appreciate it. And yeah, thank you for tuning in for sure. As long as I'm able to help you guys handicap and make some money, and you guys are also trading it off, allowing me to do this for a living. So that's very cool. And I'm very grateful for all you guys tuning into the show. So, excuse me. Next game here is 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Missouri State minus 145 against Belmont plus 114. And this one, I had to be announced. And I haven't really watched much of these teams play against a much competition other than Indiana State this season to really know who's going to be able to take down each other. The next game on the slate, so for what it's worth, I'm going to take Missouri State in that game, by the way. The next game, UAB Rice. And UAB never really kind of threatened to win against Wichita State. Rice had a 4-0 lead that they blew in the 8th inning against East Carolina. This is a coin flip game, according to DraftKings. The Owls are minus 120. The Blazers are minus 110. And no slated pitchers for this one. team stats that I corralled prior to the tournament beginning. UAB 479 weekend team ERA, 749 team OPS, 87 WRC plus compared to Rice with a 5 flat weekend team ERA, 726 team OPS, 79 WRC plus. So both of them kind of lean on their pitching staff with weak offenses. Give me UAB to win this one. I just think that the Rice game, I was watching that back half of the game and they completely collapsed. Like errors, dropped fly balls. I think UAB is going to win this game because honestly, that might have been, like a little bit. This might be a little bit of a hangover spot for Rice after blowing that game so bad against ECU yesterday. So, UAB minus 110 there. Oregon State minus 260 against Stanford plus 195. We'll mention this briefly because, like I mentioned earlier, Stanford used their game one starter in the game against Arizona State. In why is his name escaping me? I used it earlier. They also used their game two starter, Christian Lim. They also used their game three starter, Matt Dugan. They also used their closer. So they're actually starting the freshman flamethrower, Joey Volchko here. And then Oregon State's going to counter with AJ Lattery. Yes, that's correct. It's going to be his first appearance since February 21st when he left with an undisclosed injury. So, he's only got 2 appearances on the year, 3.2 innings under his belt. But this has been like one of the better arms in this Oregon State program under Mitch Canham for quite a couple of years. In his career, he's thrown 85.2 innings, 89 strikeouts, 38 walks, and 373 SIERA. Volchko is like, Volchko is a really interesting arm, very electric, but he struggles with the control. 34 walks and 36.2 innings. On the season, he's 1-1 with a 6.63 ERA, 44 strikeouts, 420 SIERA. Over the last month, he has been a little bit better, though, with a 3.80 ERA. But I don't think he's going to go deep into this game, and I don't think that Stanford has the arms to be able to mix and match here to get through 9 innings against Oregon State's lethal offense. Minus 260 on the Beavers is a nice parlay leg. If you wanted to throw it in there with the ACC plays that I'm going to give out today, I do think that Oregon State is definitely viable for sure. 1:30 p.m. Eastern in the Sun Belt tournament. Coastal Carolina minus 130, Southern Miss plus 100. I don't have pitchers for this game, unfortunately. Coastal Carolina, like I said, they probably had to exert a couple of guys late in that game as they were in a close fight against Georgia State. Southern Miss, this is their first game of the Sun Belt tournament. They're the dog here against Coastal Carolina. That doesn't make any sense to me. Give me the Golden Eagles in this game. Tanix Caesar says, was wondering if you were still awake. LOL, glad to see it. Yeah, dude. I mean, nobody else is putting out daily picks in college baseball during the conference tournaments, so it'd be dumb of me not to put out an episode because it's just missing out on downloads that are possibly there for people that are going to work, wanting to listen to something, wanting to place some bets early on in the day. We have so many games from 9 a.m. Eastern to like 2 p.m. Eastern during the day. So like you got to get these things out early. You can't do a morning show, in my opinion. So I'm willing to grind it out for the people. 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. This is going to be a great game. TCU minus 105, Oklahoma minus 125. Peyton Tolley is going to go for the Horned Frogs. Oklahoma is going to counter with Braden Davis. I mean, these both have been the game one starters for both of these teams for quite some time this season. Tolley, junior left-hander. Both of these guys are junior left-handers for what it's worth. Tolley is 7-3 with a 2.96 ERA, 118 strikeouts, 36 walks, 76 innings under his belt this season, 2.23 SIERA. In his last 4 starts, he's been elite. 1.07 ERA. And he was good against Oklahoma in his last outing earlier in like March this season. He went 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs. Braden Davis on the year is 8-3, 4.81 ERA, 97 strikeouts, 38 walks, and 76.2 innings with a 3.11 SIERA. He has a 3.20 ERA in his last 6 starts. So he's also been pretty solid lately, in really good recent form. Against TCU, however, it was not a great start. 4 innings, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks. So that's going to make me shy away from giving out like an under look on this game. But overall, I was hoping to get like a little bit more of a plus money price on TCU, the 9 seed here against the number 1 seed in Oklahoma. But the books know they had to have known this pitching matchup here because TCU minus 105, Oklahoma minus 125. There's not really value on either side here. Give me TCU. They seem to just play well in Globe Life. And last year they won this tournament. This is a completely different team than last year's team. However, with their ace Tolley, who's been in great form recently, I think this is definitely a winnable game. I'll take the slight dog in TCU minus 105 here. The next game at 1:30 p.m. is New Mexico State plus 290 against Dallas Baptist minus 410. New Mexico State is starting a reliever against Dallas Baptist. For what it's worth, I don't know what DBU is going to do. I don't know if they're going to start Ryan Johnson in this game or not. I don't know if they're going to throw out one of their midweek starters like a Nick Wilson in this game, but I feel pretty comfortable about DBU winning that game. At 2 p.m. Eastern in Hoover for the SEC tournament, South Carolina is plus 124, taking on Arkansas minus 160. We do have pitchers for this matchup. South Carolina is going to go with Eli Jones, junior right-hander. He's 3-4 on the year, 5.49 ERA, 49 strikeouts, 18 walks, in 60.2 innings with a 3.95 SIERA. He's been rough in his last 4 appearances, 14.34 ERA. And then for Arkansas, it's going to be Ben Bybee, the sophomore right-hander on the year, is 2-1 with a 6 flat ERA, 31 strikeouts, 9 walks in 24 innings pitched, with a 2.81 SIERA, 6.14 ERA over the last month for him. Small inning sample size, but when he's appeared in games, it hasn't been too great. So yeah, this one's a tough one for me to decipher. I'm going to take the plus money with South Carolina. They already have a game under their belts. I think that's going to be a little bit of an advantage to them because, they just needed some confidence. That team had struggled down the recent stretch here, whereas Arkansas, their lineup is the big question mark, and it's going to be their first game in Hoover. Whereas South Carolina already put up 10 runs in game 1. They're kind of feeling it. They'll have the momentum going into this game. I think South Carolina's got a shot to win it. So give me the Cox here at plus 124. Next game in the Big East tournament, it's Georgetown minus 110 against St. John's minus 120. This game, I did not have any projected starting pitchers, unfortunately. I like St. John's and what they have this season. Georgetown, however, has been a really nice story. And again, I don't know if they're going to throw Ficca. If they do, that's kind of your game breaker. In the Big East, he's been the best pitcher in the Big East this season. And St. John's doesn't really hit for much power. So I don't really see them stringing together many hits against him, and I don't really see them hitting the long ball against him if that is who's on the mound here for the Hoyas. So for this game, I'm going to take Georgetown at minus 110, but again, I'm not going to bet it yet. At 3 p.m. Eastern, again, another matchup with TBA versus TBA. Iowa, who's minus 190 against Michigan, who's plus 145. In this one, I don't feel good about Michigan winning many games in the Big Ten tournament, winning a game really kind of against this Iowa team. I think Iowa has really good kind of pieces to be able to play during a type of conference tournament that is a week long. Whereas Michigan dealing with some arm soreness in this pitching staff, I think though, that this is a disrespectful price. Michigan went into Iowa City and won the series earlier this season at plus 145. I think Michigan's not a bad play. Again, I don't know who's on the mound for either team, so that's going to hinder my handicap and make me stop at this point here. The next game's also pretty interesting. This is one that I don't think the books know who's throwing, because I don't, but I've heard rumors. Wake Forest is minus 270. They're playing against Pitt, who's plus 200 in the ACC tournament here. Wake Forest is going to start David Falco. That's what I saw on Twitter. And Pitt, I don't know who's starting, but Pitt's been scrappy recently. Like, a bullpen game for Wake Forest kind of seems like the Demon Deacons are overlooking Pitt. I think they could win this game against Pitt, even without using one of their top starters against the Panthers. However, Pitt at plus 200, the way that they've been kind of spoiling teams left and right, and Wake Forest dropping the series against Notre Dame, getting swept by NC State, and not really looking like a real consistent team to me. If you lose a series to Notre Dame, you can definitely lose a game to Pitt. So the Panthers at plus 200 is going to be the pick for me. Black Ram 50 says, how's LSU, Virginia, and Oregon stop, my guy? I don't know what stop means, but that might be Oregon State. I'm tired, but that's hopefully a typo, and it's Oregon State. I'm on LSU, Virginia, and Oregon State so far this show, if that answers your question. Southern Illinois is plus 190 at Indiana State minus 250. This is another kind of disrespectful price, in my opinion. I don't have any projected starting pitchers for this matchup either. However, the Salukis are one of the few teams that was able to take a game from the Sycamores this season. Plus 190 seems like another kind of valuable play here, where they're kind of overvaluing the favorite in this matchup. So I like the Salukis there. Not really going to bet it. I don't know how this game's going to go. This one's also on DraftKings, slated for the same time as Southern Illinois, Indiana State. UIC, Murray State, also in the Missouri Valley Conference. And they're playing at the same time. So I don't know if it's a different field we're working with. But UIC plus 120, Murray State minus 150. I don't have pitchers for this game. I'm going to go with the Flames, though, at the plus money. I think that's the better offense this season. They've played pretty well. UIC with the 870 team OPS, 109 WRC plus. I don't think that's bad with plus money here against Murray State, who's not miles better than them. Shouldn't be a minus 150 price, in my opinion there. Texas minus 238 against Cincinnati plus 180. This is another crazy price. Again, I didn't even really look at pitchers because this was a price that I don't see as actionable for either side, because coming into this week, Texas had been really hot, but they blew that game to Texas Tech. Cincinnati kind of lost the 11-inning heartbreaker. This might be a letdown spot for the Bearcats. And if it is, that would be like their fifth or sixth straight loss in a row. They got swept by Oklahoma, and then they lose that game to UCF in a very, very tight fashion. So yeah, I think Texas wins, but minus 240 is freaking crazy. Louisiana Tech minus 315 against Middle Tennessee. I feel good about the Bulldogs winning that game, but I'm not going to have any action on the minus 315 price there. UTSA, another disrespectful price for the Roadrunners. They're playing the Owls. FAU used their ace against Tulane, and he got rocked. CJ Williams against the Green Wave there. UTSA threw off in game one. They paid the price for it. They ended up losing that game. But you can get them at minus 135 here. Again, don't know who's pitching in this game for either team. However, I do think that the options that UTSA currently has available for them in that staff is much better than what FAU has to offer. So that one's pretty close to a bet. And depending on some news that comes out in the day, this game begins at 5 p.m. Eastern. I might be betting the Roadrunners during the day, so keep an eye on my Twitter. Again, that's going to just depend on when I wake up, because I'm going to go to bed around like 6:30 a.m. today. That's just what happens during conference tournament week. It is what it is. Another 5 p.m. Eastern game beginning in the Sun Belt tournament. Old Dominion plus 124 against Louisiana Lafayette minus 160. We do have a single pitcher. Old Dominion survived the winner go home game against South Alabama. They won a 3-2 low scoring competition there. This is going to be another low scoring competition, in my opinion. However, Old Dominion did not score a run in the 3-game series earlier this season against Louisiana. I don't like their offensive chances against this really good Louisiana pitching staff. They're going to trot out Chase Morgan for the Ragin' Cajuns. He's the freshman left-hander for the Ragin' Cajuns. He's 4-2 with a 2.76 ERA, 61 strikeouts, 17 walks in 65.1 innings with a 3.23 SIERA. And he himself, earlier this season in that Old Dominion series, pitched 4 scoreless innings. So, yeah, I like Morgan. I like ULL. So give me Louisiana minus 160. That's going to be one of my bets for today. I don't really even need to know the ODU pitcher, but just by the fact that their offense didn't even put up a single run earlier this season, I like that quite a bit. 5:30 p.m. In the SEC tournament here at Hoover, Vanderbilt plus 154, Tennessee minus 200. Don't know the starting pitcher for either team here. But I like the way that Vanderbilt played in game 1. That was kind of my dark horse to win the SEC tournament here. I think that, the tragic magic, as we coined it in yesterday's show, I think it works for Vandy. And they already beat Tennessee once this season. They beat them in game 3 in that home series. You could kind of not really call it home because Tennessee took over Vanderbilt's building, but give me the plus money, plus 154 on Vandy there. I don't feel too confident about it, but that's where I'm going to land in this one. Tanik Caesar, he says AJ Russell may be going today. Haven't heard anything official, but he is active. That would be really interesting, honestly, because Russell hasn't pitched in quite a bit, so he wouldn't be going very long for the Vols for sure. But just by the fact that he's back makes it really fun because he looked really good earlier on in the year when he was healthy, but we only saw him for like 3 or 4 starts in February and March. The next game here is one that I really like. I find it fascinating because I don't know what Utah is going to do. Oregon is playing Utah. The Ducks are minus 180. The Utes are plus 140. Oregon's starting RJ Gordon, who's been their game 1 starter for much of the season. Junior right-hander who's 7-4 with a 4.83 ERA, 77 strikeouts, 37 walks in 78.1 innings with a 4.16 SIERA. He has not been in good form recently, though. 7.07 ERA in his last 5 starts. And against Utah, he gave up 3 earned runs in 5 innings on 5 hits. Utah, in their first game this week in the Pac-12 conference tournament, they played USC, and they did not throw either one of their top 2 starting pitchers. So Bryson Van Sickle and Merritt Jones are available for this game, but I don't know how motivated Utah is going to be because they don't really have a chance to advance out of the pool and win the Pac-12 championship, therefore getting the auto bid to the NCAA tournament, and their RPI is not high enough to be and at large for the NCAA tournament. So their season's done after this game. We'll see how they attack it, who they want to throw. But I think it would make sense if they want to try to spoil Oregon with both of their top 2 pitchers remaining and somewhat fresh. Van Sickle would be on 1 day short rest and Merritt Jones would be on 2. So, yeah, I think that's interesting. St. Mary's minus 220 against Pepperdine plus 170. Give me the Gales. I think that's a nice parlayable piece too, because Pepperdine really hasn't been much of a threat to anybody this season, and the Gales are pretty good in the WCC over there. So minus 120, minus 220 on St. Mary's isn't the most crazy parlay leg there. Also taking place in the Big East is UConn and Xavier. The Huskies are minus 125. The Musketeers are minus 105. I have no pitchers for this game. It's a matchup of styles. UConn, really, really pitching heavy for their team. Like they have a couple of really good arms, and they did not lose a series in the Big East, I don't think, this year. Xavier, on the other hand, they can slug, but they struggle on the mound. So yeah, really kind of matchup of styles. Depends on who UConn's going to throw for me to pick in this game. But yeah, real kind of coin flippy. Honestly, I like Xavier at minus 105. I think the offense is going to be able to play in the conference tournament here during the midweek. Plus this home ballpark, or it's not really their home ballpark, but in Mason, Ohio, that's pretty close to Xavier's campus. Couple more games here as NC State is playing Virginia Tech at 7:00 p.m. This is your second game where you have an 0-1 ACC team with their season and dreams of an ACC tournament championship, at large bid, auto bid to the NCAA tournament. Those are kind of dashed in Virginia Tech. And I don't know why the Hokies are minus 110 here against a red hot NC State team minus 120. This is my favorite bet of the day. Again, fade 0-1 ACC tournament teams against ACC tournament teams with a 1-0 or 0-0 record. It is 16-4 over the last 6 ACC tournaments since 2017 when they adopted this format. 16-4, hitting at 80%. Give me the Wolfpack minus 120. Favorite bet of the day there, for sure. Sorry. A couple more games here. Elimination game in the Big Ten tournament. Purdue and Nebraska. Didn't really picture that Nebraska would be here. I apologize for the cough. But Nebraska's got their top 3 remaining starters rested, or not really rested, but available and ready to throw in this game against Purdue. TBAs on both teams here after their first game where they lost. So I'm on Nebraska winning this game and moving on, but not really wanting to play anything until I find out who Nebraska is throwing. Sunday Puncher 2009 says, are you doing early morning shows this week? Technically late night. I haven't gone to bed yet. This is the third year in a row that I'm doing these type of shows for conference tournament week, and it will continue during the NCAA tournament. 5 more games to go. 8:30 p.m. Eastern in the Sun Belt. James Madison plus 114. Georgia Southern minus 145 here. We do have pitchers in this one. The Dukes are going to start T.R. Williams, who's a sophomore left-hander. 3-1 on the year, 6.98 ERA, 28 strikeouts, 16 walks, and 19.1 innings with a 3.73 ERA. He's not really a starting pitcher. He's been more of a reliever this season, never really going over 3 innings per appearance. And in the last month, he's had a couple of appearances totaling up to 11.2 innings, and he's only had a 2.33 ERA. So he's been pretty solid recently. Georgia Southern is starting Ben Johnson, a senior right-hander, 4-3, 5.88 ERA, 49 strikeouts, 22 walks, and 52 innings with a 4.06 SIERA. Give me James Madison because they've got the more lively offense in this one for sure. Even though that Ben Johnson has been more of a starting pitcher this season, I do think that both bullpens are going to have to come into play at some point, and James Madison with the better offense, I think, is going to be able to play. At plus money, I'll take the Dukes. 8:30 p.m. Eastern in the Big 12 Conference Tournament. Oklahoma State minus 200, Texas Tech plus 154. Texas Tech has a TBA. Oklahoma State is starting Carson Benj in this one. Benj has been pretty good this season. Flipping over the page, Benj, the sophomore right-hander, draft-eligible sophomore right-hander, is 2-0, 182 ERA, 28 strikeouts, 8 walks, and 24.2 innings with a 277 ERA, or 277 SIERA, sorry, and a 148 batting average against. That's pretty damn good. So Oklahoma State, I feel pretty good about it, minus 200. Going to kind of wait to see who Texas Tech starts. I don't know if it really affects my handicap, but Oklahoma State, I think, is another viable parlay piece for sure. No pitching matchups announced for this one, but Mississippi State taking on Texas A&M. The Bulldogs are plus 145. The Aggies are minus 190. This one should be a really fun one. Two teams that I've really liked this season. I'm going to take the much better offense here with the Aggies. Again, midweek game. It's going to come down to which team can slug. It's going to be a late night game, so the ball may not fly as far. So that might keep Mississippi State in this game. It might be a lower scoring game. The pitchers are really going to determine kind of what side's the correct side here, but I'm going to go with Texas A&M for this show. Sunday Puncher, I talked about West Virginia kind of as one of the first games. I think it was the second or third game on this show. I am on Kansas State tomorrow. 10 o'clock p.m., this penultimate game that we're going to talk about today. Arizona and Washington in the Pac-12 tournament. The Wildcats are minus 166. The Huskies plus 130. The Huskies are already won in. The Huskies are already 0-1 in the Pac-12 tournament. So their hopes of winning the Pac-12 championship, the auto bid for the NCAA tournament is gone. So the motivation here may not be as strong. The trend in the Pac-12 isn't strong like it is in the ACC. Last season was the first time that the Pac-12 tournament kind of introduced the same format in a way that ACC has. However, the fading the 0-1 team system went 1-2 last season, so it's not automatic. But we do have pitchers for this game. Starting for Washington, it's really interesting. Jared Angman's been their game one starter the entire season. He's got an 0-7 record, though, and he's a senior right-hander. So this is his last appearance ever as a Husky, as a college pitcher. I think he's going to want to get a win in his senior season. 5.46 ERA, 40 strikeouts, 27 walks, and 57.2 innings with a 4.73 SIERA. Against Arizona earlier this year, he was good. 6.2 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs. Arizona's starting Brandon Zastro, senior lefty, 1-2 ERA, 4.43 ERA, or 1-2 record, 4.43 ERA, 22 strikeouts, 13 walks, and 20.1 innings. More of a reliever this season. He does have a 3.92 SIERA, and he's only allowed 1 earned run in his last 5 innings. He only had 5 innings the entire last 30 days or so here. So not much of a sample size on Zastro. Again, the minus 166 price, I think it's a great play on Arizona. I just think they're the better team, but they also, the offense is a little bit above average. It's not going to knock anybody out. And Angman had a good start against the Wildcats earlier this season. And like I said, the 0-7 record is a little bit funny, but I do think him being a senior, this is his last college appearance. He's going to try to pitch well and get a win on the record for sure. But at plus 130, that doesn't interest me at all to want to play Washington here. Last game on the slate, we do have pitchers for this one too. Santa Clara minus 125, Gonzaga minus 105. The Broncos are starting Brandon Gomez. The junior left-hander is 2-4 with a 5 flat ERA, 49 strikeouts, 17 walks, and 63 innings with a 3.92 SIERA, and he hasn't been good recently. 6.57 ERA in his last 5 starts. Gonzaga is going to throw Justin Feld, a sophomore right-hander, 3-2 on the year, 4.37 ERA, 55 strikeouts, 33 walks, and 55.2 innings with a 4.56 SIERA. I'm going to go with Gonzaga here. They've kind of been the class of the conference in recent years. And Gomez not really in great recent form. So give me the Bulldogs in this game, and that's going to conclude today's show. Mailman Mike 3 said, Noah, how about Ole Miss and Mississippi State? The game was straight fire. Yeah, it was super fun. I enjoyed that game a lot. I was live tweeting during it. I called the walk-off for Mississippi State in the 9th inning. That was awesome. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's show. We have 3 straights that I love for tomorrow. 2 of them are the ACC tournament system plays / strong trend plays. Virginia minus 140 against Georgia Tech, and NC State minus 120 against Virginia Tech. And then I like Louisiana minus 160 against Old Dominion tomorrow. Let's put together a podcast parlay that have not been hitting recently. So set the alarm, tail with caution, but we have not been hitting these podcast parlays recently. Where's Oregon State? We're going to throw Oregon State in there because Stanford just obliterated their pitching staff yesterday. I still can't believe that Stanford used their top 4 options in the pitching staff yesterday. And so Oregon State minus 260, I think that lineup's going to be able to feast against some lower tier arms that Stanford has to offer. And then the other, so Tannic Caesar says, I got Illinois and Oregon State at plus 111. Tony Feuds says, oh shit, we live right now. I just woke up. Yeah, I'm getting ready to pass out in like 20 minutes once I get this uploaded to podcast platforms. He says, I usually listen to the pod when I wake up. Haha. Yeah, I mean, conference tournament week and NCAA tournaments, I'm up till 6 a.m. Putting the pod out and doing all the handicapping and research. The second leg of the podcast parlay. Let's do St. Mary's. So we're going to do Oregon State, St. Mary's, 2 West Coast plays. That's going to bring it down to plus 101. So that's perfect. And that's going to conclude today's show. So 3 straights for me: UVA minus 140, NC State minus 120, Louisiana minus 160, and the podcast parlay Oregon State, which is minus 260 currently on DraftKings, and St. Mary's minus 220. That comes up to plus 101. Good luck to those who tail. Thank you all for tuning in to the YouTube chat. We've got 6 right now at 6:01 a.m. Cumulative of 154 have tuned in on both Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Thank you all for jumping in. You've been experiencing the better side of college baseball with the College Baseball Experience. Adios, amigos.